So you're thinking about moving to Barcelona, and I have to say it's an incredible city, but there are some things that you need to know before you make the move. So in this video, I want to share with you guys all the things that you need to know before moving to Barcelona and what I probably would have wished I known before coming here. So if you're new here, I'm Christina. I'm a digital nomad. I've been living in Barcelona for the past year and a half. I have the Spain digital nomad visa, and I absolutely love this city. Obviously, there's pros and cons to everywhere you live, but I wanted to dive into the things that you kind of need to know or understand before you actually make the move, or when you're first making the move. These are important things to note as well. So let's jump right in. So one of the first things I want to talk about is living situation. Apartment hunting, where to live, neighborhoods, what to expect, that kind of stuff. So number one, there are definitely better neighborhoods to live in than others, and that's in any city you go to. And of course, there are going to be more touristy zones and there are going to be less touristy zones. Personally, for me, I'm not a crazy tourist zone kind of girly. I don't want to be near all of those masses and mobs, especially in the summer when it's just legitimately wild out here. So I want to give you guys my top recommendations for neighborhoods to live in and where to avoid. So let's start with where to live. So I was looking at a map of Barcelona. At the top, circle number one is going to be Gracia. And that is the northern part of the city, but it's super nice. It's a bit more village-like, a bit more neighborhoody, less of a crazy tourist zone. The only thing I will say with Gracia, the more north in Gracia you get, the more local culture you will have. And if you do not speak good Spanish, you may feel a bit of expat hate. Like when you see those videos where it says like tourists go home in the walls in Barcelona, that's usually up in Gracia. But with that being said, it's still an amazing little neighborhood and you can find really cute little pockets, and it's not gonna ruin your time by any means, but it is something I want to put out there. But it is a really, really nice neighborhood to live in and a bit quieter. Number two is my personal favorite, and where I live is Sant Antoni. That is in the bottom corner of Eixample, and it is a really cute neighborhood. And I will say, you don't want to be on the borders of Sant Antoni. You want to be west of Urgell, which is one of the main roads, and you want to kind of be in from parallel a little bit. So the main center of Sant Antoni is super cute, and I personally absolutely adore this area. I'm only about a 10 to 15 minute walk from a lot of central Barcelona, and the metro lines are all really close right here. And as well, it's a really good neighborhood feel. There's so many grandmas and grandpas and old people and families in this neighborhood, so I always feel safe. I'm never really worried about someone constantly trying to pickpocket me. Obviously, I'm still aware of my belongings. I'm not leaving my purse on the table. I'm not walking my phone out like this for someone to take. But I don't have to be as vigilant as I would have to be in other neighborhoods where the tourists are definitely in the masses. Number three is gonna be Eixample. Now this is a gigantic area of Barcelona, as you see on the map here, but I wanna say there are two sections that are really great to live in. Number one is gonna be near Girona and Tetuan. That section near the metros is super nice. It's quite calm and quiet. Lots of really cute restaurants and coffee shops over there. Great metro station, so you're well connected. And the other one's going to be in the center of Eixample on the left side, which is gonna be east of the hospital clinic, below Diagonal, above Gran Via, and in this main little area where you have so many bars and restaurants. It's quite lively, so it isn't too loud, but you also aren't gonna get pure quietness all the time unless you're an interior facing apartment, I would say. So you do get a lot of kind of stuff to do at night. You got a lot of really cool restaurants to go to. You have some really cool shops. So that is a really great place, and you're very centrally located to the city. Those are three amazing neighborhoods. Now, a fourth one I'm going to add in is going to be Poblenou. This is a neighborhood that is newer in Barcelona. So it is kind of a little bit farther outside of the city. I wouldn't say it's really completely a suburb of the city, but it kind of feels a bit like it. It's much, much quieter, but it has a lot of really cute cafes and coffee shops and kind of that trendy vibe over there. So you find lots of co-working spaces, and you're really close to the beach. So if you don't mind being a 10 to 15 minute train ride out from the city and you want to be close to the beach, this might be a really great neighborhood for you to look into. Now, those are the neighborhoods that I would suggest living in. The neighborhoods I would not suggest living in, that would definitely be Gothic and Born and Raval. Those three are not only heavily with tourists, but some of them have a lot of the homeless and a lot of sketchy things at night and a lot of the pickpockets. So Bourne is probably the best of those three of the worst that I personally think. A lot of people do choose to live in Bourne when they move here because it is very young, it's very lively, there's a lot going on there. So you're kind of in the heart of all of it, and if you like that, that's totally fine. I personally felt like at night, I didn't always feel completely comfortable walking home, and there's a lot of pickpockets, and there's some really dark alleys sometimes in certain parts that can be a bit sketchy. Saw so many people get their phones stolen, bags stolen, that kind of stuff. So I personally avoid that area because I don't want to deal with any of that. Like I said, it's still not a bad area to live in necessarily, but I feel like you don't have as much safety in terms of the petty crime, and also it's going to be loud and noisy. Gothic Quarter and Reval, I would not ever suggest to live in either of those, because for both of those, you have a lot of petty crime, you have a lot of pickpockets, a lot of really drunk people. It's just nighttime's not the place to be. I don't walk through Reval past like midnight by myself, because not necessarily that I'm gonna get jumped or anything like really horrible is gonna happen, but you're gonna see the sketchiest people in Reval at night, and a lot of the drug kind of people go there. So I would just avoid those areas in general. With that being said, Barcelona is an amazing city, so I don't want that to turn you off and say, oh my God, like I don't wanna move there because of those neighborhoods. I don't experience any of that stuff where I live. My friends who all live in the neighborhoods that I told you about earlier to go and choose from, they don't have those problems either. So I just wanted to lay that out there for where to live. And in terms of apartment hunting, this is something that I think a lot of people underestimate. The market in Barcelona is booming, meaning there is a lot, emphasize that, competition here in Barcelona for apartments. And because of some regulations and laws that they changed in the past 2 years, there's been issues with apartments. So I'm sure if you've considered moving to Barcelona, you probably saw the clips on social media that circulated this summer of the protests saying tourists go home. It's not really that they don't want tourists here. The problem are the apartment rentals. They changed the law a couple of years ago to where the long-term apartments no longer had to pay the agency fee, and the landlord had to pay the agency fee. So obviously that's a win for tenants, but landlords kind of were like, well, screw you, and they started to make everything short-term. So the way it works here for apartments in Barcelona is you're either gonna have a short-term rental, which is 11 months or less, or you're gonna have a long-term rental, which is gonna be 5 to 7 years. I know that's wild and quite a crazy gap, but there's different regulations and different rules for both of them. Now, what happened was when they changed this agency fee rule, which the agency fee was like 15% of your whole year, so it could be quite high. When they changed that to the landlord, everything became short-term. So now it's so much harder to find a long-term apartment, and a lot of these agencies are finding ways to still try and charge you the agency fee, and it just kind of backfired on the government. I feel like it backfired on everyone who lives in this city, because now it is so much harder to find anything over 11 months. And if you're living here for a couple of years, you don't want to keep moving. And when you have the 11-month rentals, anything that's short-term, so 11-month or less, still has that agency fee. It was only the long-terms that didn't. So now you're having all of these be short-term rentals. So if you rent a place for 11 months and you pay an agency fee, our agency fee was like $2,500, I'm pretty sure, or something along those lines. When you have the agency fee, every 11 months, you have to pay that again. So it can add up and you're moving, and no one really wants to do that. So there is a really big issue right now between the short-term and the long-term apartment rentals, which is causing a lot of the protests and a lot of the anger from the locals who live here, because they feel like there is no longer any options and it's only these short-term, very expensive rentals. So I will say the rental market is definitely really hard. And if you want to move here and have everything set up before you actually get to Spain, like you want to just come in your apartment and be ready for you, I'm gonna tell you, it is a lot harder. It's a lot harder to find an apartment and lock one down and sign a lease without them meeting you or without them having good contact with you being in the country. If you are looking for an apartment before you get here, or maybe you are here and you've been looking for an apartment and you're really struggling and you don't speak Spanish, which you have to make phone calls to all the places that you look, and you're gonna look on Idealista or Fotocasa for an apartment. When you go and look, you have to make phone calls to these people, and you have to call the offices and set up an appointment for you to go view it. The people who answer the phone are not speaking English to you, and they don't, a lot of times don't speak English at all. So the agents sometimes do speak English, And that's totally fine when you go to view the apartments. But if you don't have good Spanish, it can be very, very frustrating. So one of my friends who actually met here in Barcelona, she started a company called Viva España, and they help you to find apartments either to rent or buy here. And they're kind of like a personal shopper for you. So they'll make all the appointments for you. They'll come with you to the viewings. They'll kind of help you through the process. You will still go with the agency to rent the actual apartment, but they're kind of like your personal shopper and your personal helper through the whole process. And it can really make it a lot easier if you are on your own, if you want to have an apartment before you move here, or if you really aren't great at Spanish and struggling to get an apartment or have someone reputable who's kind of backing you. This is a really great option because you have somebody who's going to help you through the process. They're obviously fluent all in Spanish and they can speak English, so they're kind of like your translator and help you through the whole way. And they're obviously doing a lot of work in terms of helping you find the right properties, setting up all the appointments, going with you to see them, helping you through the whole process. And so many people move here and think they're gonna find an apartment in 2 weeks, and within 2 or 3 months, they still haven't found anything and they're still struggling. So it might be something to consider. So if it is something you want to consider, I dropped a link down below in the description and you can book a free call with Carol, who runs the Viva España company, and you can have a conversation with her about what you're looking for and if it's the right fit. But I highly suggest it because it might make your life a lot easier. But if you don't want to go through that process, then just know that I would give yourself at least 2 months to try and find an apartment, because it's gonna take you a while to go to view them, find ones you like, apply to the apartments, and to potentially get accepted. And one tip I will give you when you're applying to these apartments, this is what me and Harry did, and the agent we worked with actually suggested us to do, is to write a letter pretty much, or like just a document. And we included pictures of ourselves. We included so much information about us outside of the things that we put on the documents, like I was American, he's British, what we make, what we do for work. We kind of give a bit of our story. And I think when you personalize it, they were saying sometimes a landlords prefer that over somebody who they don't know anything about. So we legitimately gave like our backstory of how we met as a couple, how long we've been together, what our interests are, how much we want to turn this apartment into our home, what we really liked about the apartment that made it stand out to us. And we personalized that and included some nice pictures of us. And obviously it worked because we ended up getting this apartment and we love our apartment. So I would highly suggest just kind of personalizing and be able to stand out from the crowd a little bit. It's something so easy to do and it takes 2 seconds, and then you just send that with your application and it might help you get an apartment. But I definitely suggest renting somewhere for like a month to 2 months while you're here in the initial move, because you also need to really look at the apartments. There were a few times where we saw an apartment and I was like, that looks like a bit of me, that looks amazing. Got there and was like, that does not look like the pictures. Those are very different pictures. So you definitely want to see things in person, and you're going to want to test out different things. Number one is natural light. The way the apartments are configured in Barcelona, some apartments get great natural light. Like I have really amazing natural light in our living room and our bedroom. I have no natural light in the rest of the apartment. There are some apartments that I saw that literally have barely any natural light. So you definitely want to look for things like that. You want to see what's included in the apartment. You want to see how the showers and stuff work. So there's different things you definitely want to go and look at, and you want to see what the building's like, ask about the neighbors. Things of those nature are always good to know before you're making the move. So those are some of my apartment hunting and apartment finding tips and neighborhood tips. Now let's talk about safety, because I get this question a lot. Are you going to be safe in Barcelona? Yes. Honestly, you'll be so safe in Barcelona as long as you pay attention to what's around you. I grew up going to New York City, so for me, Barcelona is very much mild. Like, I don't find it to be a crazy city. I'm not overwhelmed by it. If you're not from a big city or you didn't grow up going to big cities, maybe this could be a really big change for you, but it's an incredible place. And I don't feel unsafe. Granted, I'm not going out all the time to like the clubs along the beach at 6 o'clock in the morning and then coming home from there. I can't speak on that anymore. I used to do that when I was like 22. I am not 22 years old anymore, but when I studied abroad here in Barcelona, we definitely faced some weird stuff going on at night. I think Barcelona nighttime can have a little bit of a dark energy sometimes, but I do think if you pick good places and you're vigilant of yourself and you're not blacked out rolling out of the club trying to get in a taxi and end up having someone steal all your things, which can happen, then I think you're okay. But if you go out to the bars and stuff, just be aware of yourself. Don't walk through the streets at night when you're on your way home like this, texting someone, where someone can just literally go by the scooter and just whip it out of your hands. Watch your bags, obviously, and make sure that no one can get inside of them and steal anything out of your stuff. And just be aware. Like, I think if you are aware of your surroundings, you're fine. And I've said it in a video before, but one of the biggest tips with safety in terms of not getting pickpocketed here in Barcelona, number one, like I just said, don't walk with your phone like this, just texting. Like, you can do that in some of the neighborhoods, but honestly, if you're in Gothic Quarter, Raval, or any of the mainstream Plaza Catalunya areas, I always hold it like this. Like, I'll have my finger on top. That way, if someone really can't just easily take it out of my hand, or I'm not just like walking around like looking at maps. Like, I'll stop for a second and look and put my phone away. Another big thing is do not put your phone on the table. It's such a bad habit. And I've had plenty of friends who I've sat at a table and they've done this and I'm like, you're giving me anxiety. One of my friends, we just got drinks the other day and he had his phone literally on the table and we were sitting on a table on the street and I was like, I'm gonna have an anxiety attack for you. Can you please put that away? Because people can just run up and take it. It doesn't happen as often as you think, but you also just don't wanna put yourself out there. And then obviously your purse as well. Don't leave your purse on top of the table and do not put your purse in the back of the chair. That's really it for safety. Obviously, you just need to be aware at nighttime. Don't walk home alone. That's, as a woman especially, I think in most cities, you gotta be careful with that. In Barcelona, especially if you're going out in areas like Born or in Gothic Quarter, just be the buddy system. Do the buddy system, make sure your friends get home, get in a taxi. Don't try and be brave and walk through Revolt at 3 o'clock in the morning, which I have done before and I don't know why. And I woke up the next day and was like, you're the stupidest person ever. Don't set yourself up for something stupid to happen and you will be totally fine and totally safe here in Barcelona. But now let's talk about the Spanish lifestyle, which I think is such a pro and also can be a con sometimes in terms of the way that people live here. The Spanish lifestyle is very relaxed. It's very tranquilo, like take it easy. Things happen at a snail's pace. And that is just the pace of life they live. So if you, like me, coming from a place where I grew up near New York City, I'm used to that fast-paced life. Come here, no. No. The Spanish do things on Spanish time. Things happen on Spanish time. And so you just need to be aware of that and learn to kind of take a step back and be like, things will happen, things will get done, I might get frustrated, but they're gonna happen pretty much in their own time. So it is something to just adjust to in terms of the pace of life. But at the same time, you eventually learn to really enjoy life more. Like the Spanish, they know how to enjoy life. Every day, I've never been in a city like this. Every day after work, on the weekends, before work, during lunch, whatever, people are out and about. They're on the street, they're sitting out on the tables, they're having a drink, they're having a coffee, they're meeting with friends, their families are together. They are a very, very, very social culture. And I love that. It makes you want to get out of the house more. It makes you want to do more things. And so that is such a key benefit, I think. But at the same time, if you're used to things going a certain way, or you're used to, especially if you're an American and you want service to be a certain way, drop that. Let it go. Not happening. Like the service industry, that's just, it is its own world here in Spain. They are nice. I'm not saying they're not nice. They will get to you when they get to you. And that's fine. On the plus side of that, when you're having dinner and you finish eating, you could sit there for another hour with your glass of wine and just chit chat with friends, chit chat with family, be on a date, whatever, and no one's gonna kick you out. And those moments you're like, I love this. So there is a give and take. And with the Spanish doing things on Spain time, Spanish bureaucracy, that is something I will never understand because you don't even get the same answer from every person. You're gonna get different answers from different people on questions regarding government, taxes, visas, all that kind of stuff. There's always a way to work things out for sure. But just know that if you are getting frustrated by the Spanish bureaucracy system, join the club, because we all do. And we all get frustrated. And getting appointments to any sort of government thing is practically impossible. I don't know why. And they don't run fully smooth. But again, you get to live a beautiful life here in Barcelona. So, you know, it's a give and take. And there is one more additional thing I want to touch on as I was just thinking about all of this. And I've talked about this in a previous video. So please, if you're curious about the taxes and what it's like to move here as a digital nomad, make sure you check out that video because I go in way more depth. But I will just say, before you move here, the number one thing you need to know is if you are freelancer, self-employed contractor, and you come here, you are not getting any sort of tax cut. You do not qualify for the 24% tax regime. There is nothing special for digital nomads on that front if you are a freelancer or self-employed contractor. If you're an employee, obviously if you're American, you can't even come if you're an employee, but say you're an employee from a different country, UK, wherever, then you're in a different scenario and you potentially could get the 24% Beckham law tax, like a flat tax rate. If you are lovely, self-employed, freelancer, contractor, just like I am, then you get nothing. You pay a lot of taxes, very high taxes, and you pay a lot of Social Security, but you get to live a wonderful lifestyle. So we go into the progressive tax rate, and you can look that up online. It's super easy. Just type in Spanish progressive tax rate. It'll give you the different brackets that fall into. So it'll break it down by your first, say 12 to 19,000, I forget what it is taxed like 19%. Your next 20,000 is taxed 20 something percent, and goes and breaks it down so that that'll break down your income. And then your Social Security contribution, which is monthly, obviously on top of your taxes. That contribution will be anywhere from $350 to about $650 per month, depending on your income for the minimum contribution. And $350 is pretty much like the minimum amount you pay for someone who's applying for this visa because there's an income requirement, and then obviously it goes up. So those are just things to note as a side note. You need to know the tax situation before you move here because it is not pretty for self-employed people. No. I think sometimes that makes people question the longevity of living here because of the taxes on people who are self-employed, but personal question, up to you. What I'm gonna be doing in a few years, I have no idea. Will I still be here? No clue. But for right now and for the next year, we're loving life. We love living in Barcelona. I absolutely adore this city. And I hope that if you guys are thinking about making the move, you do it. Or hope this video helped you in general to get a better sense of things you should really know before making the move. And yeah, if you're enjoying this channel, if you want to see more videos of life in Barcelona, travels, working online, figuring life out in my 30s, then make sure you subscribe to the channel. And it just honestly means the world to me growing this community. And I have so much coming in store for you guys. Like I swear the next few months / year are going to be incredible, and I am so excited to share with all of you guys. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you in the next one. See ya.